Hi everyone, and welcome back to Twitch. I'm Abby, this is Tara, and this is Nikki. We have something fun today. So we're going to talk about building a .NET serverless application on AWS. So there's obviously going to be a demo, but before we jump, obviously, of course. But before we jump into it, let's talk .NET. So I know that there's been a bunch of launches recently that were around .NET, so .NET Core support for X. So can you give us a little bit of insight on what the recent launches have looked like?
Oh my goodness, we've had a bunch of them.
There have been so many since reInvent, starting at the end of the year with CodeBuild for .NET Core on Linux-based applications. And then we immediately launched Lambda support for .NET Core 2.0. We followed that up with X-Ray for .NET Core.
And X-Ray being integrated in the SDK. So if you had tried it before like I did, you were kind of having to build a bunch of stuff yourself. No more. It actually is embedded into the .NET SDK. So
and the toolkit as well.
And the toolkit, yeah.
Tara's an SDK wizard, by the way, so you should send Tara all of your SDK questions.
Really?
She knows all of them.
This is what we're doing? This is what we're doing. This
Sold you out.
This is why, I claim that she's my friend, but I don't know if I mean it. Like, I just want to share with you.
Apparently I'm not her friend right now.
So let's see, we had CodeBuild.
So there's two more, actually.
Yeah.
There was DynamoDB Dax for .NET Core.
Yes.
And then after that, we launched the .NET Core AMI for Ubuntu and Amazon Linux.
And let's not forget the toolkit. So that if you look at the toolkit integration, we have the VSTS, just in case you missed that. And obviously the toolkit integration with the service. And I talk about this all the time because for people who like to build in Visual Studio, they don't seem to know about the toolkit. It makes stuff
It's incredible.
So cool. Like if I want to publish to Lambda, right click, publish to Lambda, boom, it's there. So yeah.
I think actually what's cool with all of those too is that there's a big focus on the tooling. So things like CodeBuild and things like X-Ray support, and then the toolkit for inside Visual Studio. It's all the nice surrounding stuff for it, so that you can just continue writing your .NET applications without having to do all of the building stuff yourself, which is what you previously would have had to do.
Without having to leave your environment at all.
I mean, because if you're a .NET person or if you're a Visual Studio person or whatever, you don't want to leave Visual Studio. But actually, that applies to anybody, right? Who wants to leave your code once you're in your code? You want to do as much things as possible in your code where you need to focus. And so I think that's what's lovely about this is the fact that we can build a serverless application running on Lambda, actually serverlessly, and then do that and publish directly from Visual Studio, and I never have to leave. It even gives me the endpoint.
Speaking of Lambda, I think that's everyone's favorite toy.
Ours too.
I know. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Lambda.NET Core support?
Oh, absolutely. So, one, as she mentioned, we support Core 2.0, which is huge.
And one,
of course, but we're the cool kids, we support too. And so with a Lambda, with serverless, talking about .NET, not only can you build your .NET applications and your Lambda functions, you can build a Lambda function using C# .NET 2.0, but you also can build a web application and have that web application run serverlessly via Lambda because that support for .NET Core 2.0 is there. So it's really fantastic, and we have of course some cool stuff to show around it.
So I am super ready to jump straight into the demo. I just have one clarification first because I know that it comes up in the demo. For those of us that don't know what DAX is, can you explain what DAX is?
Okay. So
I Googled it before I came up here, but if you didn't Google it,
did she really just say you Googled it?
she did.
Okay.
For those of us that don't know.
Really? I can't believe you did. Okay, anyway. So
I looked it up.
So we actually should put you on the spot and you to tell us what it is since you looked it up.
Yeah. DynamoDB accelerator. That's all I know.
Seriously, DAX is really cool because think about when you really need to have your application return data in a very quick and performant way. And so what Accelerate DAX does, which is really cool, it takes your data, you can turn it on, it builds a cluster out, you can actually do the caching of some key data, get data back really quickly. We're going to actually show a call of that in our demo. So DAX is your friend. You need performant data, you need it quickly. DAX, accelerate your data pools coming back from your applications. Very cool.
Simply put, it's just accelerated retrieval.
Yeah, bottom line it. Now,
okay, I was promised a demo, and a demo I shall have.
You're going to get one.
Okay,
so it's demo time.
Wait, before
we got to preface the demo.
Okay, so let me tell you what this demo is about. First of all, thank you guys, everyone who reached out back to us on Twitter and LinkedIn and everything else and gave us songs. Thank you. This is that you did was for this demo. So let's tell you how the demo came about.
Thanks to everyone except the person that submitted Rick Astley, and not thank you to them.
Do we put, anyway, okay, so this is how this demo came about, and the reason why we asked you guys to submit songs and everything else. Nikki is musically challenged. And I don't mean like on the normal, well, I know some genres and not others. I mean across the board, she is musically challenged. And I said that I absolutely cannot work with her or be her friend until she gets better. I mean, like, it's bad. I mean, she didn't even know Prince was dead. I mean, come on, man, really? Like, I mean, who doesn't know that in real life? And really, I
live under a rock. It's a very nice, happy rock, so you don't have to ruin my rock.
I literally was on the phone.
Oh, come on.
Okay. But, okay, so with that, we built a serverless application to help the musically challenged, i.e. Nikki, to actually learn different songs and things of that nature. So we did all of this and we wanted to run it serverlessly. So if you go to my machine.
We're just going to quickly show you how you can do exactly what Tara was saying earlier, which is run a .NET Core application entirely serverlessly. So instead of just building one function, she's going to actually show you how to deploy an entirely serverless function. I mean, application.
Application, yeah.
Sorry.
After now that my
mic. So now you should be able to see that she's picking the serverless application template that we've integrated into Visual Studio.
And if I could type, that would be really cool.
This template is basically just building a .NET Core application, and it's adding 4 files. So it's going to add the serverless template.
And it's doing this via a blueprint. So you guys don't have to worry about some of that. We're going to dive into what they are, but you don't have to worry about that, right? If you look on my screen, you can see that ASP.NET Core Web App is literally selecting the blueprint as if I was in the Lambda console, but guess where I'm at? I'm in Visual Studio. And I'm going to select this, and I'm going to hit Finish. And believe it or not, that is all I have to do to get my app running serverlessly using .NET Core 2.0 on running serverlessly on Lambda. So an ASP.NET Core web application running serverlessly on Lambda. I didn't deploy a server, I didn't do any of that. All I had to do was click this blueprint and it puts the files that are necessary for me.
I think it's important to note that it's only adding 4 files to your application, and you can essentially take an existing .NET Core application and add these 4 files and publish it to Lambda.
So if you look here, it's adding the serverless template application, and you'll see it already has, the proxy, the root path. It's adding the Lambda entry point that is going to talk to the API gateway. So if you want to get up and running right now, there you go. It's ready for you.
You're blowing minds on Twitch, by the way, with seeing blueprints from inside Visual Studio.
You guys didn't know that? I mean, come on with the cool kids, man. Really? Yes, this happens. There's more coolness coming out around tooling, just not with .NET, but other languages. So you guys should really... If you code as much as we do, you got to know these things. It just makes your life super simple. So this is the test app, and if we actually, would deploy it, this is how easy it is to deploy. I right-click, and you'll see, because I have the Visual Studio toolkit installed, I literally just say publish to Lambda. And then it says, okay, great, what's your stack name? Food test, because I can't think of anything right now. Brain is dying, and I hit publish, and there you go. You see, it would actually is going to run the .NET publish, and actually everything that would happen on CLI, it is going to happen to restore, and then it's going to package this up and send it to Lambda for you.
And it'll give you an endpoint.
Yeah, it's going to give me an endpoint, and that's all cool. But this is not the app that we built to help Nikki. This is not the app that help Nikki.
If y'all want to watch me seriously fail at getting all these right, now's the time to sign on.
Yeah, I'm going to let this finish and just show you the endpoint, and then we're going to talk about the application and the architecture, and then we're going to show it. But so it's waiting for a change that we receive. You see, it actually is publishing out this. It can roll back on failure. What's cool about this too, if you're looking at the toolkit at all, it shows that my stack is in progress. As it continues on, this is actually coming from CloudWatch. So you see these things, this in progress, it's coming from CloudWatch, it's coming from the CloudFormation template. Anything I want to see is actually in there. So if I want to look at the monitoring, when I start to run that, I'll have monitoring. I see the resources that are being created and the actual IM, everything else is in there. So this is your tooling. Use it, embrace it.
I think one of the coolest toolkit integrations that we also launched was enabling X-ray. So if you're just creating a Lambda function inside Visual Studio using one of the blueprints and you publish to Lambda, you can actually check the box that says enable X-ray tracing, and it will trace your application.
What's cool about this too is that it feels so tightly integrated.
It
you
is.
Had
It is.
CloudWatch logs up, you had X-Ray, you just published to Lambda with adding a couple files,
right?
And you got logging, you published it. At no point did you have to leave Visual Studio.
I haven't left. And if you look on my screen now, this is the application running in Lambda serverlessly. I didn't configure anything. I didn't publish it to any server. I'm actually running within Lambda. And as you see, I still didn't leave Visual Studio. I literally clicked the link that the API gateway provided me that is running this, and I'm running serverlessly. So great goodness if you're into .NET, into .NET Core and the languages and the like, and like
Super
Visual Studio.
cool.
I think for developers too, it's so important to have less context switching. That like you don't have to write your application, then
Switch
jump
back
out somewhere else, find a way, like get into the AWS console, or you go to your terminal and make a call to the CLI. You don't have to do that. You can just hang out in Visual Studio, which is where you were writing your application in the first place. You don't have to do all that context switching to like, okay, well now I'm working on deployments, and now I'm coding, and then now I'm looking at logs. You can do it all in one window.
Exactly. So if you check out Nikki's screen now, this is our app. Welcome to Muquiza. She named it, so, whatever. And we actually have your Twitch, the songs that you tweeted us, we actually put them in a database repository. So it's in DynamoDB. And let's just play the game first. Here we go. So we're going to let her try this first. So what happens is you click play the game, and it's going to actually go out.
Oh, man.
Look at the song and the title that we have in DynamoDB. Then it's going to dynamically call API that actually is used to power Shazam and to get lyrics. It's going to display these lyrics on the screen as you see. And now Nikki has to put in the artist and the song title. And
Tara, I know you're going to be surprised, but I don't know this one.
For those of you that are just joining us, we're playing Guess That Song with Nikki Klein.
Okay.
Well, Nikki is thinking. We have a question from Twitch.
Okay.
It says, what you can see blueprints.
Does anybody
from
want to
VS.
help me out?
Gosh, what was the question? Then I'll help her because she sucks. Okay, what is it?
Oh my God. What is this song?
So Twitch is saying, so what you can see blueprints with Visual Studio, and the answer is yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
that was all in VS.
It all is in VS, and if you follow our Tech Bite show, Nikki and I run around .NET and doing the Lex bot. Literally, those toolkits and everything else is actually the toolkits, the bot, the testing, everything else happens in Visual Studio. Now let me help her out because she sucks.
Please help me.
This is Cake. No, this is Queen by Janelle Monáe. So Janelle Monáe is the artist, and the song is Queen. Holy moly, donut shop. She still is really not doing well at this. So
wait, how do you spell that?
just put. She really sucks. Okay.
You type that.
Yeah, I'll type it. So she, as you can see, sucks. Do you even know who this is?
No. You want to tell me?
No, I'm embarrassed.
All right, I figured.
I'm embarrassed.
So, quick clarification question from Twitch. Someone says, what do people mean by blueprints?
Okay, great question. So when you're starting off with Lambda, while you try another one to refresh and get a new lyric, when you're starting off with Lambda, we try to help you out with scenarios that you may want to set up. For instance, you may want to set up a microservice. And so we'll have a blueprint that will already have a DynamoDB connection there for your Lambda function. Well, it's getting information back and forth from DynamoDB. It's going to set up some of the basic permissions. It'll have a Lambda function you're going to write, and then it also has the hook to API gateway. So when you look at the blueprints, it's just a way to say, I know that I want to write X. I want to write something that is a serverless application. So I need for Lambda to be set up for me to be able to do this, and then I can do the things I need to focus on. That's write code. Right. She got one right. And look at the one she got right. It's Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Are you serious right now? Yeah, I mean, really, that's the only one. By the way, that's the only song she knows.
At least I got one.
Yeah, keep going. So let's talk about how this application is written while she tries one more.
We also have a request just to make sure that you cover it. People want to see the X-ray part working too.
Okay, so we're gonna
enable X-ray.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah.
So let's go to the code really quickly.
All right.
Everyone knows you kind of suck on the app part. Yeah.
Sorry guys, I don't know music.
And that is running serverlessly, by the way, the application. So let's look at the code. Can you blow this up, Nick? Let's get it to about 150 so people can see.
Can people see that size okay on Twitch, by the way? So just put it in the chat if the window's too small.
Yeah. All right, so hopefully you can see the code. So let's the first part of let's talk about this is, let's scroll up, and let's talk about one of the newer features that is a part of, actually no, let's do X-Ray first. Let's go to the startup pane and do X-Ray first on that.
So X-Ray, if you want to have the enable X-Ray function, all you're going to do is start a new solution, like Tara did before. And instead of selecting a serverless application, you're just going to select a Lambda project. And then once you're ready to deploy this, so I have to select a blueprint, things that we've been talking about.
You'll
so I could select the chatbot one, because why not? I wrote it. I'm good for something, guys. Jeez.
Just not the music.
So if I bring my Solution Explorer back and I just right-click to publish this one, and I go through and name my function.
So also, if you're looking for how we did this, and so while she's showing you how you publish your Lambda, and for your Lambda function, the X-Ray, let's talk about something else that happens in .NET Core, and we'll show you this code in our original app.
So just really quickly, do you guys see where it says Enable Active Tracing, AWS X-Ray? So all I'm going to do is check that box, and when I publish it, X-Ray will be tracing my application.
All right, so let's talk about, really quick, I'll talk about DAX, and we'll go back to X-Ray in our Musequiza app. Is that how we say it?
Yes.
So if you're looking at the application, look at the code, and Nikki, if you go back to our code there.
Sorry, go back.
No worries. How dare you shut down our beautiful application? Anyway, so if you look at what you can do there on your startup page, or on your web configure startup, the first thing you're going to do is, after your use MVC call, you're going to put in a use X-Ray call. So you're going to obviously get the NuGet package for X-Ray. You're going to include it into your solution, and then after you include that into your solution, you're then going to go and make sure it's in your startup after use MVC, and you're just going to say use X-Ray and pass in the name of your application that you're trying to do. So after you do that, if I want to initialize this to, and this is running serverlessly, so if you're doing this in an application, that's the process. If you're doing it with Lambda, and we're actually running this serverlessly, so we're doing it with Lambda, if Nick, if you would scroll back up, the call that you're going to make this a little bit different because we're running this serverlessly is that I'm going to add the X-Ray recorder, and then I'm going to initialize that instance and pass in the config for the ASP.NET. So that's X-Ray running and things like that nature. And when we come out the code, we'll show you how it's tracking some of our things.
The only other thing you got to do is you got to go into the serverless template.
Forgot about that.
And you have to add this key and value, tracing value active.
Turn it on. Yep. So that was one thing that we did. That's, we're eating our own dog food looking at the new features. Now let's talk about the DynamoDB call and the DAX. So if you go to, we have a separate application or a separate library that we have in here, and this is all about retrieving information from...
And by the way, we're going to open source this great project for all of you that are musically challenged like me.
So that was a question actually that people have been asking in Twitch. Is if you'd open source.
We will.
First you want me to take out my comments to myself talking about what are you doing. So let me take those out first because I have those in there. Yeah.
We'll clean it up a little bit.
I actually think that makes the process more authentic for everybody else, is that if you look at it and be like, what was I doing?
I don't think, because my comments are like, dummy Smurf, did you really get that wrong? I mean, those are comments I make to myself. Don't judge me. So,
She's being truthful. I see them all the time.
Yeah, she sees I actually have these to myself. Or why don't you have this in here? So if you scroll up, the first thing you need to do, obviously like anything else, you're going to add a NuGet package for Dynamo. So you see we have two calls being made here. We have the first function that is actually making a normal Dynamo call. So we added the DynamoDB client, and then we're going to pass in Cognito credentials. So we have an app pool running here, passing in credentials to the client. So that's the first normal process, and it actually is getting that out. For DAX, you'll see that we have a different client set up. We have two things here. We have the DynamoDB client that is going to accept, instead of accepting just a Cognito and everything else, we're actually going to have that client created with DAX. So if you scroll down, let's get rid of doc that.
I was just showing them the NuGet packages that are installed. It's DynamoDB v2 and then the DAX client.
So yeah, someone asked, so you know what? Challenge, yes. I will actually... So when our next Tech Bite show on Twitch, I will code this live and you guys will see it.
Yeah, so actually, to the person on Twitch that just said Tara Walk, I would watch your programming stream on Twitch if you decided to do it. I love this stuff. Terawaka does have a programming stream on Twitch. It's called Tech Bites.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch her live code and build projects, and you want to work on projects together, the good news is that already exists. And
It's in there,
if you go to aws.amazon.com/Twitch, it should direct you to the different program names, or you can go to twitch.tv/AWS, and it should show you the different streams.
Absolutely.
Tara live codes and I moderate.
Yeah, she does the, Tara, what are you saying? Why are you doing that? What are you doing? All right, so you see here we have two clients. One is the normal client, but we're talking about DAX. So the DAX client here you see is that I set up a config for DAX. I'm going to pass it the endpoint for DAX, and you see it there, and the host.
And the port.
The host port. And then I'm just going to pass in the AWS credentials. Again, we're using Cognito credentials here, and the region that I want to have this in. These are the same credentials that I would pass in for my normal Dynamo call. And then the next thing I want to do is I'm actually going to start up the cluster DAX client, as you see here, and I'm going to pass that config in. And then, of course, you're going to do your good try catches, because that's just good coding practices, and we're all shaking our head. It is. Okay,
yes.
Great. And then I can make a request like normal. So you see, I actually made this one a little bit more verbose. The first code actually used the object persistence model. This one, I'm actually making a normal DynamoDB call, so you just say a normal request. I'm passing in the attribute value, so just normal call. If you do anything with Dynamo, this looks very familiar. And then I'm doing an asynchronous call. So if you're familiar with .NET, there's an async await methodology. I'm doing that so that it will fire this asynchronously and come back, so even faster.
And then we're just mapping it to our class.
And then we're just matching it to the class. And it says, okay, this artist, this title, and now I'm getting the lyrics that Nikki is failing on terribly. Yeah. So let's show you.
Don't
really
remind
quick.
me again.
I'm just saying, you suck
You're
on
just
this.
rubbing it in.
You suck on this. Okay, so let's go to the console and let's show you how we set this up, so you can see the table and how we actually set up DAX here as well. And then we will show you the code build, because we'll just show you that in the console, because this is our time and we can do that, right? Yeah. All right.
I think CodeBuild is easiest to see in the console also, because seeing how the blocks work together for like the actual process, I think. Yeah, everyone is always like, more CLI demos, less console, and sometimes things are just better on the console. You get way better visual feedback.
Right, you can immediately see how it's flowing through. And as always, of course, we will put those CLI calls in there so you can see them. But again, you can actually see it live and what's happening. So you see here, when Nikki and I worked on this, we built if you go to the DAX dashboard, and you can create a cluster, which we did already. And you can follow the steps. This is so well documented that I won't even go through it. So once we have our cluster up and running, will you show that part, Nikki? Voila. You see that it'll create this cluster. And again, all the information you need to actually then include this in your DAX client and your .NET code is right there, the cluster endpoint.
This endpoint's going to be important, as well as the port number.
Yep. So once you have that, you're off to the races. And that code that you saw that we presented in Visual Studio is what you need. And this is running within a serverless web application. And what now do I want to do to trace? So if we go to the console in X-Ray, you saw that for our Lambda function, we actually have that Lambda function, which is running serverlessly, which is running our web application. We're monitoring that in X-Ray as well. So the last 5 minutes, did we run?
I mean,
what about the last 1 minute? 3 hours? That was a long time ago. We were asleep. Was I asleep? Was I
no,
here?
you were not asleep.
I don't know if you ever sleep.
I don't know. I do sleep. Guys, you should feel sorry for me.
I know we had one in here from before when it aired, when we originally loaded it up, so I'm trying to find it.
Okay, no worries. So here's the thing, guys. When you have things we're monitoring, so we're just monitoring for this part, just monitoring X-Ray, just monitoring the Lambda function. So as the Lambda function errors, we'll get data back. You can take this a step further and actually say, let's say this wasn't deployed in .NET to Lambda. Let's say it was deployed to EC2 or ECS. This is ECS is my ECS mentor. This is Abby. My
containers
ECS mentor.
are after this.
Right. So you can deploy to that, and I can actually take that code and say, hey, I specifically want to know what's going on in EC2 and ECS with my application running. So right here, we're just saying, hey, initialize and give us the Lambda function, but we literally can get really granular, and this documentation is out there as well, where I say, hey, initialize X-Ray, and say for the EC2 plugin, and then I get data about what's happening on my server as my application is running. So you can get as granular as you want, or you can say, hey, initialize, I want to see everything. In this case, we said, hey, we just want to see what's going on with our Lambda, because this is all about serverless, right?
This is actually a good thing that nothing is showing up. It means our app is running successfully. Last night, when we were deploying, we had a couple of errors and they were showing up.
This is the
I
development
can't find
process,
them.
though. There
I
is
can't
nothing to be
find them.
ashamed of. We have all done it before, been up late
She's not
trying to
supposed-
fix
come
an
on. She's not
error
supposed
the
to be
night
telling
before.
everybody, though. You know what I'm
I
saying?
just told everyone.
You got.
She was going to tell everyone if I didn't.
I told everyone that I Googled DAX Accelerator before I came on stage. We're good.
There is no shame at all. Okay.
X-Ray though is actually a really powerful tool though. So you can get service maps. You can see how different services talk to each other. You can see what resources they access. You can trace specific calls. So
It's the best way to
yeah.
debug your application using AWS services.
It's incredibly powerful, and I think it's one of those things that a little bit of work, and well, it works out of the box really well for Lambda, but like even for things that are non-Lambda,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
a little bit of setup work, you can trace a lot of stuff, and you can get some really, really cool insights out of your
There's
application.
a really great blog post on this too
Yeah.
for all the different kinds of .NET applications you might be running. Standard .NET, .NET Core, Lambda,
Oh, good
.NET
point.
functions.
And look for, we're working on taking some of the applications we wrote, and I'm trying to complete a blog on .NET about some of these and give you, so to tie to the open source of this application, if you guys have ever seen me do my NASA application where I'm running dynamically with serverless and NASA and calling NASA back and forth and getting things about the stars. That sounds really geeky. But we're gonna have a blog
cool,
post
though.
about, it's kind of cool. We're gonna have a blog post about that out on the .NET main blog. Bear with me, we're gonna get it out there. So it can complement your open source so you guys can do this as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so definitely run this. Where we have about, we can show the database.
Yeah, we can show CodeBuild.
We almost forgot about CodeBuild.
CodeBuild
How
would
dare I
probably
almost
be
forget? Yeah.
would be a good thing to see. So if you were wanting to start a new build, sorry, my internet is a little shaky. So yeah, you name the project and then you could indicate the source provider. So where's your code? Is it in code commit? Is it in GitHub? And then
shout out to that really quickly.
choose
Most
your
people
branch.
only think that you can only do this with code commit. You also, if you have code already running in GitHub and you want to have CodeBuild to pull code from there, you absolutely can. People kind of forget about that. We want to get your code in any way it's possible to help this make it easier for you. So we also support GitHub.
so here's all the places where you can select.
Bitbucket, didn't know that either.
Connect to GitHub, right? And then this is the important part. So if I'm going to choose Ubuntu, I can choose the .NET Core runtime, and then I can choose the runtime version. So .NET Core 1.0 or 2.0 is available.
Really quickly, will you go to DynamoDB? So I want to
Yes.
just say once again, really thank you for all you guys who gave us songs off of Twitter and off of LinkedIn.
I'm not going to thank you because I failed miserably.
She's musically challenged. But I want you to know that actually in our table, if you would show our music, we actually took by hand each one of your tweets, each one of your songs, and actually put them in there. So all of these songs that you guys gave us are in there. So we're open for you to give us more. And we're also going to build as a part of it an admin page so you can do things like send data back and forth with DAX really quickly and then get songs in there to update it. So
Yeah, if you want to keep tweeting us songs before we open source this code, feel free, we
take
will
it.
add them.
And it'll also help Nikki with her music education.
I need to learn
and,
some more.
And keep a friend.
As you
because
can see.
I was going to disable her.
Okay, so we are wrapping up for today. We will be back in just about a half an hour with a containers talk. So thank you so much to Tara and Nikki for joining us, and we will be back in half an hour.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
See
you.
later.
Bye.